Libra. All right, May 2017. I'm in Denmark, so we are here. It is beautiful weather. Just enjoying. It's really nice to be back. I had my hair done by a Libra. I seriously needed some balancing out, and that's exactly what I got. I'll tell you about it at the end. But the place is called the Queen of Swords. I was like, yes, all about it, all about it. What a great name, huh? For a hair salon, I can't think of, like, a Libra with a hair salon should have that name. This makes sense. So what's been going on? Let's see. It's been a little bit rough. Because the thing is, the retrogrades take you into your feelings, and you're not really used to that. So, I mean, of course you have feelings, but you're not used to being in your feelings so damn much. And so I think one of the after effects of that is what you're left with now, which is kind of this like, okay, so I had the feelings, but what do I change now? You know, you're a cardinal sign, so you're like, okay, I felt these things, but how do I do something with them? I wasn't just supposed to feel it just to feel it. That's stupid. That doesn't fulfill a purpose. What was the reason for it? Like, what am I supposed to be doing with it? Right? And I think what you're supposed to be doing with it is you're supposed to be realizing that you have to walk in a new direction. You need a change. You need to find a new way of not being you, but of being more you. You know, because the old way that's dependent so much on others and your reflection in their eyes. Okay, first three cards. Okay. Your reflection in their eyes is so important that it can keep you from picking a new direction. Does that make sense? Like, even if something isn't working, even if something is just really hurting you, you can stay in it just because picking a new direction would be embarrassing, because maybe you'd have to admit that you failed at something, right? Or maybe you'd have to admit that perhaps the way you reasoned things out wasn't the right way. Admitting a mistake or a failure somehow can be really hard for you guys, actually, now that I think about it. Like, even when you're, like, really wrong, it's really hard for you to say it. Maybe because, you know, if Libra is doing something wrong, they really don't know it, right? They wouldn't willingly do something wrong. They're very fair. So if something wrong is happening, if you are in a situation with a Libra where the Libra is just being a jerk, and you're like, yo, what is wrong with him? I don't think he knows he's doing it. I think in his mind, he's found a way to justify this as being okay. Right? So what I'm saying is that I think you're getting to a point where you're not able to justify that stuff to yourself, where you're kind of going, you know, I'm unhappy and in my feelings about this stuff because of the retrograde, and it's made me like reassess. You know, when we take a look at the past, it can kind of be like a slingshot, right? Like when we have to go through all the feels of the past and we have to relive stuff, it can be a great catalyst for forward movement, right? It can catapult us, if you will. But in what direction? In just the direction you've already been going in? What's that going to help? You know? I think that thing that you felt during the retrogrades is an emptiness or a disconnect. And that disconnect can only be filled by, in In your case, what needs to happen isn't a doing, okay? Because you're really good at that. You're like, give me something to do. Just tell me what to do. No. In this case, what's actually going to bring that connection isn't a doing, it's an undoing. So, for example, Alan Watts talks a lot about how Buddhism is more about negatives than positives, the absence of something as opposed to the presence of something, right? So in the same way, a Libra is a doer. A Libra wants to make things happen. Things are happening, okay? But to gain the intimacy that you would like, and to gain the connection that you would like based on this, excessive hindsight that you've experienced with these retrogrades, based on that, what you are craving for, what you are sad about, what you are moving into the future hoping for is contentment, right? What you would like is to feel just really, really good with what you got and where you are, and just be able to kind of sit there and be like, you want it. But let's look at this card, okay? When this card comes up in your reading for yourself, when you're reading, what does it mean? Two things. Obviously, it can mean that someone is stealing from you, lying to you, okay? But it can just as easily mean that you are hurting yourself. You are sabotaging yourself. This person can't tell that what he's doing is wrong. He thinks it's funny. This person has found a way to justify to himself what he's doing. So when that card comes up in a reading, it's either because someone is lying to you or because you're lying to yourself, right? So how do you not lie to yourself and reach that level of contentment that this Nine of Cups energy that can only be reached through connection? See, he's not content because he's got 9 pentacles. He's content because he's got 9 cups of emotion, right? How do we get to that level of contentment that for a Libra seems almost impossible, maybe? Well, let's see. First off, let me show you these cards while we talk, because we have all the cards out that we need, which is awesome because the other readings have been a bit labored, I've had to shuffle a lot, but this is pretty clear. So here we go. You want this. But how much of you is this? Right? You want this. Yeah, I get it. We all want this. But how much of you is monetarily, worldly greedy? You see, because this person doesn't care about that stuff. That's why he has so much. This person cares so much that he's taking other people's stuff. How much of your identity is for the outside, for the show? And what's real? That's actually you. And you're having to do this strange Libra balancing act now between the pressure of having to look perfect and be perfect and be completely closed up, or to be kind of messy and open. But see, the thing is, although this war rages in you, Libra, and although this war, okay, rages in you between these two aspects of yourself, although there is infighting, what is absolutely certain is that it is when you tap into this side of your nature that you will realize a new height to your accomplishments. It isn't, you can't reach this place, this new level of success, as long as you're tying everything to the appearance of perfection. I know that seems counterintuitive. What do you mean? Isn't emulating a sense of perfection and taking really good care of your appearance, aren't these all signs and levels of success anyway? Yes, you're right. They are, and they're very important. I'm not saying they're not important. What I'm saying is, there are things here that you really, really want. And those things cannot be attained in the way in which you've already attained stuff. Because what you want now is much different than what you used to want. And so what I'm saying is that the old way of doing things isn't going to get you the new thing that you want. It's just going to get you more of the old thing that you don't want. Right? So when this person realizes or starts to ask themselves how much of their identity is superficial, how much of it is tied to money, right? How much of it is tied to appearance and looks? How much of this pressure to appear in the public eye a certain way is keeping you from being emotional with people and opening up to people? I'm sorry, my speech is a little staggered, but it's because I feel it in you guys. You're having such dissonance. This is really like a fantastic outcome card for you, because although it is not easy, Libra, this is necessary right now. Because this level of success, it's there for you and it's inviting you, and that window is small. That window is short, right? That window of time is very short. That you get to jump on that train and get here, and you can't do that without going through this, which is fighting within yourself and becoming more feeling and less pressure-based. You know, when Libras feel pressure, it can almost be kind of erotic, because it's so bad for them, bad for you, you know? That like it can almost feel like if you have a partner who pressures you enormously, there might be an element of you that finds that very attractive. Now, the reason my speech is stammered right now and like I'm having trouble kind of like with the flow of what I'm talking about, which I almost never do, is because I'm feeling that pressure. I'm feeling that pressure to be perfect, and it's making me fuck up. And I think there's a huge lesson in that for you, because it is your appearance, it is your need to appear a certain way that keeps you closed up. And what the cards are saying this month, that's not going to fly. This month you're going to realize that, you're going to realize that when you get this, I don't even know if that was a hiccup or not, when you get here, is when you can have this new level of success. But to go from here, to here, to here, then here. You can't go from here to here. You can't say, Libra, I just want to go. I want to jump to the end and be super successful. You will be. You will be. God willing, you will be. But it won't mean anything, and you will self-destruct if you don't go through this process first. Because this is how you will get to know yourself. Now, like I said, this could be a part of you that is emotional and wants to come out and wants to be more running the show, right? The part of you that doesn't identify with the superficiality. Or it could also be an external water sign. Someone who is once again there, once again offering, once again in the picture, once again playing, you know, the here I'm holding the cup out to you game. And the cards say, yeah, there is definitely a chance there, but it is really important that you fight yourself on this until you feel like you're getting your value, like that your value is being appreciated, right? So this is the dissonance, because of course you want to jump from here to here. But you can't, because there are things you have to learn, and either you're going to learn them through this Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, or you're going to integrate this part of yourself and learn from it. Either way, it's going to happen. And why? Because I think the universe needs you to be more open and have a new direction right now. I think it's super, super important for you guys to do that instead of just getting bored and doing stupid stuff. So, that is the very quick Libra reading. That was very, very quick, actually. And I feel like it's just because it's so clear. Like, you guys are very much in your feelings, but it's because you need to go through this. You need to finally understand what it is about you that puts so much emotional pressure on you, what it is in you and having to appear a certain way that puts so much pressure on you that you then self-destruct and self-sabotage, right? This is what you've realized during the retrogrades. This is what you've realized coming out of the retrogrades. This is what you're trying to now balance within yourself. And I think that's why it's so simple and so clear and so easy to read. And it went by so fast, because you will, as a cardinal sign, figure this out. You will be successful. You will find a way to balance these two parts of you. It's just a matter of how quickly or how slowly it's going to happen. And that depends on your level of openness. If you can exhibit enough vulnerability where your defenses aren't always up, your guard isn't up any second something seems like it might even be a little bit about, like, related to jabbing at you, you know, like hypersensitivity. If you don't immediately throw those walls up because you don't want anyone kind of messing with your idea of your own perfection, if you don't throw those walls up and you leave them down and you leave yourself vulnerable, you're not perfect anymore, right? But if you're not perfect anymore, that's when people can actually love you. That's when people can actually get to know you and connect with you, because a statue is perfect. You know, I've met like actresses, like Indian actresses who are like by all accounts perfect, and they're boring. Sorry, but like, you know, Kim Kardashian's boring. She's pretty. She's hella pretty. She's boring as fuck. You know, she can't dance. She can't party. She takes everything personal. She gets all in her feelings about everything. Like, it's just kind of lame, you know? Like, you don't want your sense of perfection keeping you so closed in on yourself that it becomes like boredom. You know, like you're bored with yourself even. So this new sense of direction, yes, it is a conflict within you. Yes, it's going to get a little rocky. Yes, it's been really rocky. But, you know, one, you've got to see how the rockiness is added to by this water sign in your life, and you need to put that person firmly in their place, not to their face, but in your mind. Okay? I know what I want. I want this. I don't want anything less. Unless you do. Unless you do. Whatever you want. Just, this is also like we're communicating, right? Either this is you communicating with yourself, or this is you communicating with someone, but you're communicating. You're balancing things out in this relationship between your heart and your mind, or between you and another person. So don't be afraid of this conflict. Don't be afraid of the confrontation. Don't be afraid of what will come out of the confrontation, because it will only be good. However, the more important thing is that I need you to understand how these two things are completely related. And I promised myself that I wouldn't talk about it unless it came up really, really clearly. But the reason I mentioned Kim Kardashian again, I know this is the second month in a row that I'm doing it, but it's just because I saw something that really bothered me. So there's this video of her from when she was like 15 or something, and she's got this mic, and she's just bogarting this mic. Like every 2 seconds she's ripping it out of people's hands, and she's like, I'm the most famous, popular person in the whole world, and I'm so pretty. And like after like 5 seconds of watching it, I was like, holy fuck. Like, that is the worst parenting I've ever seen. Like, I can't even imagine being in the same house with a child like that. Because at the time, she was about 5 years older than my kid. And like that behavior would last all of like 5 seconds in this house, right? So I remember watching that from the point of view of a parent and thinking, damn, that's awful parenting. Like, just god awful parenting, right? Because you can see it in the way she treats other people. And that's why I bring it up. Like, even at that young of an age, what beauty and popularity and this adherence to perfection and this kind of almost slavish wanting affirmation from the outside world had at such a young age already turned her into a shitty person. Sorry, but she's like grabbing the mic out of people's hands. She's super obnoxious. She's like, these are like little kids running around her, and she's like, ah, whatever, that person's not important. Anyway, back to me, you know. And it's because there is a extreme lack of connection there. It's because there is a closing in on oneself because of the pressure. Right? But once you close in on yourself, you don't realize anymore how you look from the outside. Like, I'm sure she doesn't realize how obnoxious that was. Or is still. What? They're glorified mean girls, right? Or is still, right? Like, you don't want your life to become a caricature of its own perfection or its own beauty. And I know we talk about this a lot, get into the ugly, but I'm not even talking about the ugly anymore. I'm talking about the real. The real isn't always ugly, but the real is always compelling. It's authentic. And the thing you're feeling, the thing that the retrogrades have left you with, that emptiness of like, yo, I want a connection. That wanting of a connection, that's only going to come to you when you break that facade and you say, like, I don't care about being the prettiest. I don't care about being the most popular. I don't care about being perfect. Yeah, it's it's an aspect of my personality. But like I said, like, I'm not going to be a slave to it anymore. You know, that's supposed to be something that complements me, not something that I have to devote my life to, you know, and like pour all my energy into this obscene like rat race of always having to appear perfect. Like, you're so consumed by it at points that it wouldn't matter if someone was trying to love you. To be honest, you wouldn't really care that much. Like right now, it's been difficult, so you care, you know, but like in periods where you've had a pretty steady relationship, these things do consume you. When you know you have that love thing handled, you do get all in your feelings about what people think and what people say and how much people, and either you get so gassed on how much people love you, which is just false, like popularity is false, right? Or you get super depressed because you feel like there isn't enough of that falsity. And what I'm saying is you can break this entire cycle, right? Like it's like Daenerys in Game of Thrones. You can break the fucking wheel. Just break the whole wheel. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be you. You're perfect. You're perfect. There's no other standard of like, when I get here, I'll be more perfect. No, you won't. You're perfect now, right? When you know that, you can connect with people without that fear of, no, I don't want them to see my empty spaces and my imperfections. I'm not ready yet. I have so much more to do. I feel the pressure, you know? No, you don't need that. Okay, so what happens is when you let go of that, you actually find that ugliness doesn't rush in to cover up your vulnerability. Actually, what comes out of you is something even more beautiful, even more compelling, something really magnetic that everyone wants to be around and everyone wants to date and everyone wants to sleep with, because it's a cardinal signs energy when they feel good about them. They're very, very magnetic, right? So how do you get through this without feeling like you've lost that perfection edge that you guys feel puts you on top? Maybe perhaps by realizing that there is no top. There's no hierarchy. No matter what you accomplish, you'll never be any better than the person that accomplished nothing. I know that's harsh, but it's true. That's not why you're doing it anyway. You're doing it because you want to and because you're compelled and you love it. But your worth is not determined by what you do. Not at all. Your worth is determined by nothing, actually. Your worth is just because you are. That's a really profound understanding for a Libra, you know? That you don't have to work for it, prove it, do for it. I mean, it's all great to do those things. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you don't need to, is what I'm saying. So maybe now, May is a time where you can see yourself a little bit differently. Imagine yourself a little bit differently. A little more connected, a little less walled in. You know, it's not going to work trying to chip away at you from the outside. You're steel. But you can melt from the inside, and you can escape. You can escape this tower of perfection. You can. Because what's waiting for you is so beautiful, right? All these people who will love you and connect with you and really get you and appreciate you. But it's not pretty, you know, when a Libra gets pushed against the wall and broken a little bit. It's not pretty. The world has a tendency to just like walk up to you and just... But it is in those moments that those walls of perfection come down, and I think the universe demands it. So instead of the world breaking your walls down, take them down yourself a little bit this month. Find that beauty in not being the most popular, the most pretty, the most this, the most that. Find the beauty in just being. And just knowing that's enough. That's how he got all those cups, because that's just how he kept feeling, and then just more of them kept coming. It's abundance. That's how abundance works. Right? So, let's talk about my hair. Okay, So I went to Queen of Swords in Bushwick in Brooklyn. And I have been a like die-hard corporate salon kind of person for a long time. And I think it's because my mom used to make me get like these horrendous haircuts from Supercuts when I was a kid. So as soon as I was like old enough, like as soon as I was like, I left home when I was like 17. As soon as I was like old enough to leave and do my own thing, I started getting like super, super expensive haircuts because I was like, oh, that's what's wrong with my hair. It's just that I'm getting bad haircuts. Well, I was right about that part, but I was wrong about the part where I was getting the best cut at these like corporate kind of salons. I've just had like a life-changing experience by going and visiting Queen of Swords. It's run by a girl named Elma. Super, super cool. Like I said, she's a Libra. And I was just at a really, you know, emotional place in my life where I didn't feel like my internal was reflecting my externality. And it bothered me, you know, and that wasn't a conversation that I could have with my hairdresser of 10, 12 years. I couldn't. Like, that's not that's just like a place where you go and you have some minimum, like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Good, good, good. Okay, snip, 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 bye. You know, this was more like I was able to, relax. I was able to relax. Like, her place has this energy to it, which is very like, just chill. It's going to be all right. You know, it's super chill in here. It's cool in here. It's bright in here. It's sunny in here. It's, you know, it's like clears your energy. And I needed that because I was so just disconcerted with everything. You know, I needed some direction. So what better, you know, who better than a cardinal sign to seek help from, right? And because she is so intuitively involved with your hair and with you and is feeling her way through this process with you, she came up with the perfect, I mean, you've seen me, I've like barely messed with my hair because I don't need to, because it's been cut along the curl, you know? This I did to myself, that part. I did that because you know, because I do stuff to my hair. But, you know, it's been just a life-changing experience, like to have a completely different kind of haircut. She cut my hair dry, used completely different products that don't lather and aren't soapy. I put some color, she put some color in my hair, which is really not that obvious in this light, which is kind of awesome, but it's like a rose violet, and it's like several different, you know, gradations of color in there. It's masterfully done. And, you know, not the typical colors either. Like when they shine in the sun, it's a very kind of like, it's a new color, right? If you want to say like that new kind of color that we're all so interested in, right? So I just had, you know, I had like a rebirth. Like I went through this kind of like phoenix rising from the ashes process, and Elma was my, you know, priestess through that. She kind of celebrated that process for me through this. And it really meant a lot to me. It means a lot to me, you know, and it also means a lot to me that now my hairdresser is also my friend. Like, that's really cool. Like, a lot of people that get readings from me end up being my friends. End up becoming friends. I love stuff like that. Like, I want nothing more than to support other women doing business, making money, you know, like a lot of times people will write me and be like, oh, so-and-so's copying you on YouTube. So no one's copying anybody. No, they're making money. That's some young woman who's making money and doing her hustle to make money. Let her do what she's doing. There's no hate here for any woman who's trying to make $1 out here in these streets. Absolutely not. You know, so I love being able to support female business and young women, you know, doing their thing. I'm proud. I'm so proud, you know. So I will leave Elma's information below for where her salon is at. You can check her out. The best way to get in touch with her is probably Instagram, and then her address and phone number is everything in the bio of the Instagram handle. And the best way to get in touch with me is also Instagram. I'll put that on there. I'm still doing Skype and FaceTime and phone readings, even though I'm in Denmark for the next 3 months. If you are in Denmark and you'd like a personal reading, I will be in Copenhagen and in Aarhus all summer. So just let me know and we'll set that up. I think that's about it. There's some like whack ass YouTuber who's like out here like trying to intimidate people. So at the end of the Gemini reading, I just put like a little something for her there. If you're interested in watching me pop off, you might want to check that out. If not, you know, disregard it. And I'll see you in June. I love you guys. Look at my hair. Elma. I love you. So proud of you. I look so good with this. Okay, I'll see you guys in June.